Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Today's show is brought to you by OnPay, the new standard in payroll. You can pay employees and contractors in minutes, automate your payroll taxes and filings, as well as provide health benefits and HR in all 50 states. For more information, visit buildingthefutureshow.com/onpay.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Mike Liu. He's the CEO at Triller. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm very well. Yourself?
All things considered, I'm doing well. Enjoying the sunny weather in California. Los Angeles is specific. But all things considered, I'm doing okay.
Very cool. So walk us through your childhood. Where did you grow up, and what did you take in university, and why?
Yeah, no, so I'm born in China.
Very cool.
Came here when I was very young. And settled in, of all places, in Tennessee, which is not your usual typical place. The reason is there's a defense lab in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where my dad was recruited to work in. So, kind of grew up like a southern guy. Used to have a southern accent. So when I went to school out here in California, Berkeley to be specific, and came out here to meet folks, I still had a southern accent at the time. So lots of culture shock from China to Tennessee, and then from Tennessee all the way here to California.
Very cool. So what did you take in university, and why?
I think a lot of it is just you go into it with a very I'm Asian, so there's a very strong core value of education. My grandfather was a teacher, which is very coveted role in Asia. I learned a lot more about human interaction than I did about just knowledge-based facts, and I really enjoyed my time there.
Okay, no, very very cool. I'm curious then. You get out of university. Walk us through your career up until Triller. Yeah,
so I've been very fortunate. I've spent the last 15 years in Silicon Valley, right out of school, where jumped into startups pretty much right away. The first startup we did was in 2005, 2006. We were the first. Entrepreneurs to put online video ads on, at the time, very small sites like Hulu.com, NBC Universal, and we kind of built the infrastructure so that when we saw ads in the early stage, they were all kind of powered by us. It was a company called Uni, Y-U-N-E. I was number 5 at the company. We went from 5 people to about 500 in about 4 years.
Wow. We
eventually got listed in the stock exchange, so did all the fundraising from Series C all the way to IPO. But a really, really cool journey. And it was one of the first times where, talking to you in 2020 and saying, yes, people are going to watch videos online seems very kind of a no-brainer, but I can tell you in 2005, we had to try to convince a lot of people that people are going to watch videos online.
Totally.
And then after that, I got into my passion, which was at the time gaming.
Okay.
So joined a couple of guys, made mobile games. So this is around 2010, 2011, where we were one of the first to put, games that, as a hardcore gamer, we want to play on a mobile device.
Sure.
So created games like Crime City, Modern War on the mobile device. And
that's cool.
We were acquired pretty quickly, within a year and a half, by a Japanese company called Wii.
Very
for
cool.
$200 million.
Wow.
And then I stayed on as the vice president of games and product for the Japanese company for another 3 years. And there I learned a lot about just, the cool thing about like the mobile market in Japan is that they're just a lot further than the rest of the world because they skipped an entire generation of PC and went straight into mobile. Right? Like it was more common for you to have a smartphone device and for you to have actually a personal computer. So a lot of things about data analytics, about consumer retention, learn a lot from that, which I now take into Triller, which, I've been working on for almost 4 years now. Yeah.
Very cool. So how did you come up with the idea and what exactly do you guys do?
Yeah, so Triller is a short form video platform that's focused around music, artist discovery, and content. The idea is formulated around the notion that, hey, in this modern era where people are becoming more and more creative, to provide them the tools, right, the licensing, for them to be able to create any type of content that they want, whether it's short form skits, whether it's dance videos, which become really popular, but really for them to express themselves. But what we did differently is we mirrored that and attached that to artists who, at the end of the day, it felt like they were always losing in the side of social because they were not, ever recognized or were able to make money from. But we sort of connected the dots in our industry to help artists get compensated, help new artists get discovered. And then the mission, our goal, as I like to say, is to find the next Justin Bieber on Triller.
Okay, so how did you guys obviously get some of these big brands and celebrities actually on the platform, invest in the platform? Because the space you're playing in is really competitive and tricky, right? And you guys have become this massive product.
Yeah, no, that's correct. The thing that's really unique about Triller is that we really stuck to our authenticity. Every Triller video that we've seen up until now have all been organic, meaning that no one paid them to make a Triller video, regardless of whether it's Eminem or Snoop Dogg. It's always been 100% organic. And the reason we were able to pull that is that we really stuck and kept to the values of our music, our brand, and wanted to create a tool that was easy for people to enjoy. So I think, from Chance the Rapper, who created a Triller video, to Cardi B's music, and then sent that to Cardi B, and having Cardi B then repost it, that was a moment that just happened on its own.
Very cool.
And obviously we are there to support that,
Sure.
but it's happening, day in, day out. And as our company got bigger, especially as we were out starting to raise a round of investment, the artists came to us actually to kind of join the fold and join us in this journey. So we're one of the few very fortunate companies where our artist investors, or what we call strategic investors, have 40 of the top 50 artists in the world, including Marshmello, Pitbull, Migos, Meek Mill, 21 Savage, and the list goes on and on, right? So what we've been able to do is really showcase a product and technology that the industry gets and the industry wants to support.
No, that's very cool. So obviously, I guess, in some cases, then a lot of the partnerships probably came to you guys then, right? It's like once they start seeing their top artists using a platform, they're like, how can we get our other artists on there? And or walk us through that journey.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different for us. So
Okay.
when we started the journey with Triller, instead of waiting till the last minute to talk to the labels, which people generally do, right? Like even from big companies to small companies, they generally wait the very last minute to talk to the music side. But for us, we actually went to them first. In the early part of our journey, we went to all the major labels, told them our plans, asked to be partners, and through luck and sheer will and blood, sweat, and tears, we got all the music license holders to join us in this journey. So from Universal to Warner to Sony to Merlin to Empire, all of these guys have now become partners with Triller in the very beginning stages of our journey, so that when the artists came over, it was an easy sell for them as well to understand just how much work we put into it in the beginning stages.
Sure. So give us some examples of how people use Triller, because there's a couple ways to actually use the product or the app.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think what we like to see is people really enjoying and creating content.
Okay.
And our favorite thing to say is like, if you open Triller, spend 20 minutes on it, I guarantee you'll be leaving with a smile on your face. Right? Like, people are creating tons of really fun content,
Sure.
whether they're dance content, which is the most popular one, to just skits, right, where it's not about status anymore, right? Meaning that, in the old sort of social network days, not old, Instagram is one of them, but where you're posting a lot of status content, meaning like, here's what I'm eating, here's where I am, here's what I'm doing.
Right.
On Triller, people want to post creative content, meaning they're wearing costumes, they're creating a 15-second skit, they're telling a story. That type of content is how we want to strive to be unique for Triller, and that's the thing that we find very promising as we grow, is that people are becoming more and more creative in using our product.
Sure. So how do you guys decide what new features to add or not add? Because I think obviously the concept's really simple, but if you took every feature request from every user, you would bloat everything and you would probably just make the product almost unusable. So how do you manage that kind of requests and actually adding features while keeping everything very simple to use?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. As I mentioned earlier, like, we have sort of a guiding principle around, what the product is, right?
Okay.
And like I said, like, our goal is to have the next Justin Bieber be discovered on Triller, which sounds, somewhat cliche, but there's a lot of things that kind of come from that guiding principle, which is we're here for the artists, we're here for discovery of new artists, and we want to create tools that allow users to create content and be as creative as possible. And when you use that guiding principle, I think it influences our roadmap quite a bit in terms of, hey, like, is this really going to help the artist? Is this going to help discovery of content? Is this going to help people make better content? And if it doesn't fall into those sort of buckets, we deprioritize it a little bit, because at the end of the day, like, that's how we've been able to grow in this environment. How, in this very competitive environment, we're basically number 2 to TikTok, which is now well valued at $100 billion. We stuck to our principles, and using that guiding principle of content, music, and discovery, we've been able to really focus in on what we build as a product.
Sure. So I want to dive into those kind of verticals a little bit deeper. You quickly covered it a while ago, but so how does let's go through, how does like the average just regular person use Triller? And then I want to go to like a celebrity or a musician or an artist. And then I want to go to the people that want to be the next Justin Bieber.
Yeah, no, this might be naive of us, but we like to think that regardless if you're Justin Bieber or you're a celebrity or you're an everyday user, you're going to use Triller somewhat the same way.
Okay.
And that's, one is the entertainment value that you see from people creating content, but 2 is that actually creating content yourself, right? We find that on our platform, the average percentage of people that create content is around 10 to 15%.
Wow.
Which is pretty high for a social network.
Totally.
To put that in perspective, less than 1% of people on YouTube actually create content. Like, people are just passively like watching.
Right.
But for us, when we have such high numbers of people creating content, we like to think it doesn't really matter if you're, Chance the Rapper or Meek Mills, or if you're, an everyday user, or if you're a up and coming artist. I think we like to strive so that everyone uses the same way. And having said that, I think our AI, surfaces the best content for you personally and personalize that to yourself. And I think it really is just how you, like what type of content, what type of music you listen to, that will ultimately change the way that you experience Triller.
Got you. So let's talk about the AI a little bit without getting too technical. How does it recommend content to me and allow me to discover new things on Triller?
Yeah, I mean, with anything around AI, it's usually every company's like most guarded secret. But I can tell you for us, like there's a lot of human interaction that goes into content recommendation, right?
Okay.
I think if you look back into the days of Pandora, right? Like I'm sure you've heard of the Genome Project at Pandora, where they would hire musicians to basically curate playlists for different genres, right? To say like, oh, if you like this song from, let's use a scale like Mumford and Sons, you're gonna like this band, right? But if you like the Baby, you're gonna probably like, Stunner for Vegas, like, or you're gonna probably like Youngboy NBA, like. So those type of things do require a lot of like human interaction and human input. So it's not just a bunch of mathematical equations, but there's a lot of like human dictation behind our AI that makes it unique.
No, very cool. Yeah, I agree. I think human curation, at least, or correction or whatever of AI is kind of the only way to really go, at least at this point. And I agree. Like Pandora, I still think, in my opinion, still curates the best playlists out of all the streaming services because of just like they spent the time, right, and effort to do that. So no, I think that's really great.
Or you build a culture of like and subscribe to my content. Don't forget to leave a piece of comment on my video, right? Like that has become synonymous to any content creator, almost like burned into the subconscious when they're trying to make content. And that's to the credit or discredit of like an algorithm that people are aware of, but now it's burned into your like rhetoric of saying, hey, like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification.
No, that's fair. So I want to get into a little bit of who is your target demographics of users? Do you have people kind of all over the map, or what age ranges are people really using Triller?
Yeah, so our target user base is the Generation Z, right? So from ages of 17 to 25, that's kind of our sweet spot.
Okay.
And that's the majority of our users as well. We're predominantly U.S.-based audience for the first 3 years of Triller, but more recently we started to expand internationally. But it's still like the core of our audience is the 17 to 25-year-olds that are U.S.-based.
Gotcha.
If you play with Triller, our core demo is around hip hop and urban music, which has now become pop culture music as well. So
totally. No, that makes sense. So I'm curious, how did you guys get the first version or MVP actually funded and built? Did you guys bootstrap? Did you raise some money, or walk us through the early versions of Triller?
Yeah, the early versions, always starts with, guys who, went to their friends and family and, kind of bootstrapped it on their own. And from there, once the idea took shape, we were able to slowly raise capital to a point where we started to really grow organically. We were able to raise, like last year, a larger capital. And, that's been able to, sort of the same story of most startup companies is that, you start small, you start with your friends and family, and then you kind of go from there.
Sure. So how are you guys, or how do you guys plan on monetizing the platform?
You know, social has, been around for quite some time now, where I think people have figured out how to monetize social.
Sure.
Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, a lot of companies have, written the books about what's the best way. And I think for us, we can take from several use cases, but we want to try things our own as well. So while our focus is growth, we're always looking at, unique ways to monetize our audience. But I think we're, rest assured that this market has already been solved, right, by people before us.
Sure.
So there's lots of ways that we can monetize our audience.
Does it make it a bit tricky that you have users under the age of 18, or not really at all?
Our audience is actually mostly over the age of 18.
Okay.
But having said that, like, we do, put the right principles and right protocols in place to secure our audience. But one of the biggest differences between us and other platforms is, like, we generally cater to the over 18 audience.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So I'm curious, what, without like giving away anything, like, what does the next 6 months for you guys look like? Are you focusing on just growing the platform and the user base, or because you guys have been successful, but obviously you want to be like overtake TikTok and whatnot. So what is your kind of plan for the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Obviously, I can't share too much,
Sure.
but we definitely have a pretty strong roadmap that we'll be rolling out with a lot of announcements. In fact, they're coming out in the next 12 months. But I think for us, we're adhering to our principle of, like, what we are as a product
Okay.
and who we are in this space. So, I think that guiding light will not change. And there's a lot of very exciting things that I want to talk about, but you'll probably see, and who knows, we'll do a press release with your as well, so we can talk about that in person when it's ready.
Oh, very cool. So I'm curious, right? Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Certain platforms allow their user base to upload custom filters or other little features. Are you guys have any plans to support that at some point, or you don't really know yet, or can't really talk about it? Okay.
No, absolutely. That's one thing that we're really trying to unleash the creativity of everyone, right? So to add a little bit more light into your last question, instead of thinking about, like, what are the specific features, like, I think what will make us as a company very happy is, do you know the story of Little Nas X?
I think I know which one you're talking about, but maybe do you want to tell it, and for the people that don't know it?
Yeah. Yeah, so Little Nas X, is a cultural phenomenon now, right? He created a song called Old Town Road.
Yeah.
And as soon as I say those, I'm sure you can hear it in the back of your head. But it's a song that started on Triller, and Little Nas started on Triller and created, basically through his own hard work, a culture phenomenon where his songs played more than the Beatles now. And he was discovered through Triller and grew on TikTok, grew on Twitter. But that story of, being a self-starter is something that we're actively trying to enforce with our audience. We want at least 10 more Little Nas to come out of Triller. And that's, our focus around the product. That's our focus around, like, what we're doing and what we're building every day.
Sure. No, I think, like, it sounds like I'm 36 or 37, sorry, just for some context. And it's like, people don't realize now, I think especially younger people, like, geographic region doesn't matter anymore. And especially now with all the stuff that's happening globally with people working from home and it sounds like a lot of people are still going to continue to work from home after they're allowed. Like the geographical borders has been so broken down now that you can be in anywhere, big, small, or wherever on the globe, and you basically can get discovered and follow your dreams, and you potentially never even have to go to another city or country anymore. Sometimes you do or you want to, but I think you don't have to nowadays. Do you agree with that? And I think what you guys are doing at Triller really supports that.
Yeah, no, you definitely nailed that on the head. I mean, look at it this way, right? Like, if you look at the evolution of like the late night television, especially now during COVID, is that your average YouTube blogger have nearly the same quality of content and video as, say, a Jimmy Fallon. Right? Like,
Totally.
The world has changed to equalize, content creation, where for the younger audience, like, you're not going to be able to tell a difference between someone who is making content from their bedroom, that's just a YouTube creator or a Triller creator, to someone who's being paid tens of millions of dollars to be a late night host. So they're equal now, right?
Yeah.
And I think what that does is it democratizes content in general and allows anyone in the world, in their bedroom, in their house, to become the best at what they do, right? And I think that's not gonna stop, and that's only gonna continue as people get more and more creative.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think we're at like such an interesting creative time, right? And I think like so many people, if not everybody, in my opinion, can be creative. Some people choose not to be, I think, in a lot of cases but like if they have simple tools like Triller to actually do some of this stuff, because let's be honest, most people aren't going to go learn Pro Tools or some like crazy music software. They're just not, right? But if they can build or use something that's really good, that's basically you just start using it and you don't have hours of a big learning curve, right? That it just levels the playing field for everybody, right? And majority of people can't tell the difference between a song that took maybe 100 hours to create in Pro Tools or something you just like put together on your computer or on an app quickly, right? Within a few, by yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And let the audience decide which they like, which ones they like, right? So I think, especially what we've done recently, which is our version of American Idol called Step Up to the Mic. If you look at The Voice, which is now essentially a Zoom call, the production value and quality is not going to be any different than, say, doing it from your home. And that's something that's giving inspiration and hope, and that's changing the entire paradigm of like content entertainment for sure, and that's not going to go away.
No, I 100% agree with you, and I think the quality, I think the authentic, like how authentic it is too, also factors in that I think a lot of people don't think about, right? Like a lot of people can tell the stuff that's like mass produced compared to something that's truly authentic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the Gen Zs, growing up on social media, growing up on YouTube, they know when, a piece of content is paid for. They know when something is like they're forced to do something that is inauthentic to their core. And, the successful brands that have made it, like Fendi from Rihanna, like they basically stuck to who they are, and
Sure.
that sells much more than now the sort of forced approach.
No, I 100% agree with you. So we're kind of coming to the end of the show, but how about we close with mentioning where people can get more information about you guys and any other links you want to mention?
Yeah, you can follow us on social media. We're in all the usual spots: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, obviously our website. But I think the best way to do it is just to download Triller yourself and, hopefully walk away with a smile 10 minutes later.
Perfect. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.